Hey guys, so I have to tell you about what happened yesterday, because I can't not find this wow or amazing or funny or whatever. Never, anyone who's heard it today just is like, that's horrible. And I'm just like, it was so funny. It was so funny that I contacted my friend Greg and I was like, you should have been there because you could have written the most amazing musical score to go behind this, because it was like some kind of skit or pantomime, like you couldn't make it up. So, in my ever-going project of hand painting the cottage from the inside, I'm doing all sorts of mural work and all sorts of really cool kind of 3D relief scenery. Right now I'm working on this kind of ancient old church ruin, a wall with a big moon and stained glass. And so I'm like happily painting away because, this is where, when I've been peopling all day, I come home, I throw on an audiobook, and then someone's just talking to me and I'm listening to the story and I'm painting, and talk about being in my happy place. I am there. And so it was, 1:30 in the morning, and I'm just painting away, doing my thing. And I was like, God, you know what? I'm so lucky to live here, because I like the long, dark evenings. I know that's so weird, but I just do, because I'm a night person, and I thrive at night. And so I was like, God, it's so lovely. And I was listening to the soft patter, of the beautiful Irish rain, and just going, God, that's so relaxing listening to this. And then next thing, I'm like, that sounds weird. And instead of kind of being the pitter-patter of Irish raindrops, it was like, psst, psst, psst. And I'm like, what is going on? Well, in my daughter Jada's bedroom, the radiator hasn't worked for like 10 years. And luckily, Jada hates heat on when she's sleeping. Well, she hasn't lived in that room for 4 years, but so it's always cold in there. The radiator shut off, never has worked in a decade. So it decides last night, it reminded me of that scene from Mamma Mia, when they're all like dancing at the end and you could see her, Aphrodite, and the ground splits open and the water spews and everybody's, dancing around. Well, all of a sudden, all on its own, Jada's radiator decides to spew, right? It shot out the little pin, that you would bleed a radiator with. It shot the thing out, and water's just firing out. And I was like, ah! Right? So the pitter-patter that I had been hearing was the water pouring through the ceiling, through the light fixture, down onto my electric piano downstairs, and my leather couch, and my brand new laptop that just replaced the one that was stolen. And I'm like, ah! And so, okay, if you could have seen me, like I'm trying to, it was like just something out of a movie. And I'm trying to stop the water, and it's, I'm soaking wet. I'm drowned. Jada's room's destroyed. Sorry, Jada. And so, like, I'm running around trying to put towels over it, trying to figure out how to get this on. And so I'm like, okay, calm down. Think about this logically. You need to shut the water off. And so I'm thinking back to, how do I get that water off? And then I'm like, oh yeah, when they installed the new system under the sink, because they put the reverse osmosis on the water upstairs as well, the stopcock should be under the sink. So eventually, and this is like 45 minutes in, y'all, I get down and get this thing switched off, because I'm like turning off everything in the hot press upstairs and trying, and it's still just spewing. So I turn off that, the switch to the thing under the sink, and it's not stopping. And I'm like, shit. And so what I was trying desperately not to do was go and wake up my neighbor, for several reasons, because like I was trying to bleed my radiator the other day and I got 99% there. And then there was a little leak in the back of it. It wasn't my fault. It really wasn't. And I had to go get him. And I was so proud of myself for doing it. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help. But, there's some things that you're just like, I did that myself. So I just had to get him help me with that last bit of bleeding the radiator. So I was like, oh, I'm going to have to go over there and tell him that my house is flooding. So, and it's 2:30 in the morning. So I climb over the wall. I go and I'm like, bang, bang, bang. And now it's like a downpour in my downstairs sitting room. And so eventually the lights come on and they open the door. And so I explained to them what's going on. So they both go back in, and they were so wonderful. I'm such good neighbors. And they were so wonderful, but the dog had come out. So I'm walking back to the house in the dark. Next thing, the dog goes, meow. And I'm up like a cartoon character. And I mean, end over end. And I face plant. And I put my hands down to break the fall. And instead I broke my thumb. I'm just laying there. And I actually did that thing, where you just lay there for a second and go, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. And the dog is making like this weird noise. And I was like, you just couldn't make this up. So I like roll over, I get up. But here's what's really funny. There's always that silver lining. I've had this weird hip problem for a while. And, as a chiropractor, of course, I'm getting adjusted. I'm doing my thing. I massage on it. I just had a massage yesterday and had the, I get adjusted on it regularly, have a lot of work done with it, and it's just not shifting. And so here I am, ass over elbows, flying up, fell down hard enough to break my thumb, but wham, right into that hip. And whatever way I hit, I slept. When I finally got to bed after mopping up my new indoor swimming pool, I slept for 4.5 straight hours. It's unheard of because I'm always in pain there. Like I've always got something going on, but I'm always in pain there lately, and I just can't sleep. And so I'm like, that was a bit of a dramatic way to get some relief. But it was just really funny. And so it just goes to show sometimes, stuff happens. Now imagine, I'm going to see my daughter tomorrow. Imagine if that had happened while my house sitter was there on her own with the dogs. And the whole house is underwater now at that stage. Or, if she hadn't been there at all. And I'm like, okay, check, that's number one, that's good. And then I'm going, okay, what's the metaphysical behind this? Because guess what else had just happened? Last week, the laundrette next to my office, their washing machine, the pipe burst and flooded and came up and destroyed all the floorboards in my office in the walkway, the hallway. And I'm like, all right, there's something going on here. There's a leak. And now oftentimes metaphysically, that can be something emotional or it's pent up emotion and you're finally letting it all out, stored up tears, or it can indicate great change. It can mean you're going through a great shift. So it's really interesting. So I'm paying attention to that because that happened last week. And then when I was doing the boiler, something had come loose and the oil leaked everywhere. And then now, my house was literally submerged. And you know what? Nobody's dead. It didn't, it's not the end of the world. Was it a pain in the butt? You know what? I got this great sleep. And so I was like, yeah, it's okay. And then the plumber came out, and hadn't I just said, because I'm great friends with the guy who does all my handiwork and plumbing and all. And that was like, God, I haven't seen him in ages. Talk about a way to conjure somebody. So it wasn't a bad thing. Was it a weird thing? Was, some aspects of it were painful and some aspects of it were fantastic. And so, it's kind of a little metaphor for life. And it's just, when you get stuck in something, if you go into that victim mode, well, how did that happen to me? Oh, but I've got the college payment to make tomorrow, and now I just had to pay the plumber, and I had to do the da-da-da. You can choose to go into that mode, or you just find a way around it, because with something like that, so if I had to shuffle a payment around for something to pay for an unexpected emergency like that or whatever, the chances of like one of the girls getting kicked out of college or my mortgage not being paid on that day but the second day, and my house being taken away, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't work like that, and this kind of stuff that we get ourselves worked up over. So it was an unexpected thing, but thank God it happened before I left instead of when I was gone, or it could have been really disastrous. And you just deal with it as it comes. And there's always some little nugget in there. And so this time the nugget was, I knocked my hip back into place. That happened to me years ago. I was having an issue actually with that same hip like a decade ago. And I was at home decorating for my mom's birthday. And 3 o'clock in the morning, she's asleep. I'm trying to put up like balloons and all this stuff. And I was on a kitchen chair with a high back. And I leaned, and I would yell at anybody else for doing it, especially as a chiropractor. And I was like leaning just to get that last spot. And I slipped and I split myself. And the way I knocked myself, knocked my hip back in into a place so hard and so perfectly that I haven't ever had trouble there since. And so something had crept out again. And you have to remember, I was hitting the pelvis 75 miles an hour. I'm so contorted down there that sometimes a normal adjustment just doesn't cut it for me. You know, I'm lucky to be as good as I am at this age with the level of injury that I have. So it was just this kind of like, oh my gosh, I've walked around all day. You know, it's tender to touch from where I fell on it, but that deep searing pain, oh my gosh, it wasn't there all day long. It's been wonderful. And so I came in, I've been doing some healing sessions, listening to other people's problems and just going, you know what, we've all got stuff and shit happens. And you know what? It was just really neat. And I was like, I'm really, really glad that I'm the way that I am, because I didn't go to pieces when that happened. I actually really, really kind of enjoyed that experience. And it was funny because I just put this post up yesterday about menopause and talking about, you know, like I've enjoyed every minute of it, the fun, the funny, the painful. And I'm so grateful to be that kind of person. And guess what? It didn't happen naturally. I've trained myself to be like that. And so can you. Because it makes life a hell of a lot easier to endure. And it just means that there's so much more more balance, because if bad things happen and you go down that rabbit hole and you know, allow yourself to submerge under the waves of victimhood, and why is that? Why me? Well, why not you? Why did that happen to me? Why not you? Do you know, like, I live in a cottage that was built in 1912. Stuff's gonna happen. And so, you know, the fact that it happened and the succession of events that did happen, I think are really funny, because really, other than getting upended by that dog and going so high up in there and violently falling on that hip, there was not anything that was, you know, bar getting whacked in the side with a shovel that was going to knock that in the way that it did. And so, like, I'm like, whoa, that's awesome. You know what? The plumber was amazing. He went out there, he, you know, saved the day, and he was like, that house was so well constructed because back in the day, they used things that last. And so he's like, that's going to dry out. It's not going to be an issue. You know, and I'm like, good, you know. So the stuff, is my laptop destroyed? I don't know. I haven't looked, but you know what? Because of having just had my laptop stolen, I learned how to back all my stuff up onto the iCloud and all that drive stuff and all that. And so everything I was working on is there if the piece of machinery is no longer functioning. So it was, you know, it was just kind of really neat. It was like this horror thing that could have turned into something very bad, but it was like so much good happened out of it as well. And so, yeah, you know, does it hurt to have a broken thumb as a chiropractor? Yeah, but guess what? I'm like doing everything with all with 9, the power of 9. And it's working just fine. So, yeah, I'm really excited to head off to London tomorrow. And now I know that the house is okay. And, you know, thank God that happened then and not in a day or two. And I just wanted to share that with you because I just think, wow, you know, it's a great metaphor for life. And not only the opportunity to keep yourself in check and in balance, but also to go, you know, on a metaphysical level. You know, I'm keeping my eyes open because there's a leak somewhere. There's a lot of leaking going on around me. So either, you know, if it's an expression of my own emotion or things that have been hard or hurtful for me that I haven't allowed out, or if it's me needing to keep my eyes open to what's going on around me in the world at large and make some adjustments, you know. It's just interesting to watch. You know, the weather is changing tremendously here. I don't think it's going to be getting better anytime soon. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on here. And so I'm kind of keeping my eyes open and watching that water theme and watching this leak theme, and seeing if the universe is trying to tap me on the shoulder and go, keep your eyes open, kiddo. There's some things coming on, and, you know, we're trying to send you those signals, so pay attention and listen. So I am. Peace out, y'all. Peace out, y'all.